This is Point FM's nightly news for Monday, the 19th day of February 2018. These are the headlines. Economic envoy Calvin Ayre to construct a $100 million five-star resort. West Indies Oil Company pays tribute to the widow of Bruce Rappaport, who died this month. The WHO announces a high-level commission to help beat non-communicable diseases in the Caribbean and other places. And the U.S. president supports efforts to improve background checks on gun ownership. Thank you so much for joining us this Monday evening. Those of you by radio, those via Facebook Live, via our app, and those of you joining us on pointefmradio.com. I am Phil George. Economic envoy Calvin Ayre is to construct a $100 million five-star resort on Antigua to be funded by profits from digital currencies. Ayre said he had begun work on the upmarket tourist resort on Valley Church Beach and would be entirely funded by profits made from the rise in value of Bitcoin, in which he was an early investor. Ayre told The Guardian the resort will attract a totally new market segment of tourism on the island, successful wellness seekers who also want to have fun. The property will not be an all-inclusive destination. Instead, its amenities will be available to residents of Antigua and Barbuda and visitors alike. The resort will accept Bitcoin Cash, which forked from Bitcoin last year, at point-of-sale terminals on the property and through its online booking engine. Prime Minister Gaston Brown has been quoted as saying he expects the resort's novel and exciting concept to broaden Antigua and Barbuda's tourism product and bring a new category of tourists to the island, adding that he looks forward to working with Mr. Ayre on the resort and the many other investments he has made in Antigua. Calvin Ayre owned and operated Bodog in Antigua before U.S. authorities came after him for allowing their citizens to be involved in online gambling, which it had made illegal. The decade-long online gaming dispute has left Antigua and Barbuda at odds with the United States, which refuses to honor a WTO ruling to pay Antigua and Barbuda damages for its online gaming sector, taking a major blow. The widow of the late financier Bruce Rappaport has died. According to reports, Ruth Rappaport passed away on February 5th in Geneva, Switzerland. In a statement, West Indies Oil Company Limited paid tribute to Ruth Rappaport, describing the husband and wife duo as playing a significant role in the development of our twin island nation. The WEOC statement outlined that the Rappaports loved Antigua and its people. Since 1980, through their holding in National Petroleum Limited, purchased the majority shares in WEOC, Antigua and Barbuda, they were in the forefront of their thinking. The statement continued that Ruth's husband, Bruce, played a significant role in the development of the Twin Island nation, as she was a key supporter of the family's philanthropic efforts in Antigua. The Codrington Papers were the pinnacle of the efforts, and on many occasions Bruce Rappaport would relate the terrible history recorded in those documents and insisted the papers should be saved for the nation through his construction of the National Archives. His wife Ruth shared every moment of that connection and visited Antigua many times. She was convinced that infant mortality and the health and well-being of a mother and her child could be radically improved by building new medical facilities, and in that regard she put her money where her mouth is, the statement noted. West Indies Oil Company said they are thankful for her donation to the children's ward at the former Halberton Hospital and are comforted by the legacy she leaves in Antigua, extending sincere condolences to the Rappaport family on the passing of their matriarch. Ruth's husband, Bruce Rappaport, founder of Swiss American Bank, passed away in 2010 at the age of 87 years. In 1980, a Rappaport-controlled company by the name of National Petroleum Limited purchased 440,000 shares of the West Indies Oil Company for $6 million from the government. On May 30th of 2010, the Antiguan and Barbudan government repurchased all of the shares to WEOC from National Petroleum Limited. The London-based Privy Council has concluded hearing the appeal filed by the Attorney General in the matter involving D. Giselle Isaac. The Law Lords convened the hearing on February 8th and heard arguments from Dr. David Dorset, representing the Attorney General, and Minister of Education, and Queen's Counsel Justin Simon, who represented Isaac. According to Dr. Dorset, there were two issues that formed the basis of the appeal. The first, whether the fixed date claim form filed by the respondent constituted an application for judicial review for which leave was granted, and whether the nature of the controversy disclosed in the fixed date claim form is a private law claim involving an employment dispute for which the appropriate disposal is the industrial court. In 2016, the Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal dismissed an appeal that was filed by the Attorney General and Minister of Education against a High Court judge. The appellants then contended that the judge refused an application to strike out the fixed date claim, and affidavit filed by D. Giselle Isaac on the basis that it was a nullity. The judge also refused to grant leave to the Attorney General to withdraw their acknowledgement of service which they had filed. Dissatisfied that the Caribbean Court upheld the High Court's ruling, the Privy Council was petitioned by the Attorney General, and the London-based court agreed to hear the appeal. While a judgment is pending from the Privy Council, Attorney General the Honourable Stedroy Benjamin believes there will be a ruling in their favor.
Being very familiar with the case and having been briefed by the lawyers in this matter, I am of the firm opinion that the government's attorneys have very strong arguments, and I have little doubt that at the end of the day, the Privy Council will rule according to the law. I do believe that the lawyers representing the government, that is Watt and Associates, are correct in their decisions. I believe that this procedural point will be decided in the government's favor. We'll wait and see what happens then. But as a lawyer, one always remembers, never try to prejudge and determine a matter before any court of law. Only the law lords, in this case, will give the decision, and I'm waiting and expecting that the government will be successful in its application.
That's Attorney General Stedroy Benjamin. There is reaction this evening to last week's publication of the Cadres poll, the results of which have placed the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party in a position to retain governance of the country if a general election is called. Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party General Secretary Senator Mary Claire Hurst, commenting on the findings, says she is pleased with the results of the poll and has no reason to doubt its authenticity.
I am quite excited by it. I am happy. I believe that it was a poll that was scientifically done. It took longer than just a day. It was a preparatory situation by Cadre where they were on the ground. You had to engage the pollsters, and the sample size, I believe, was well over 100. And the results, of course, clearly demonstrate that the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party is in a position that we can win an election if called today.
The Cadres poll was conducted 2 weeks ago in all constituencies on Antigua with close to 1,000 participants involved. The participants were also polled on the preference for Prime Minister, with the results reflecting that half of the 1,000 persons favoring Prime Minister Gaston Brown, while 26% would prefer United Progressive Party leader Senator Harold Lovell to become head of government. DNA leader Joan Masai is favored by 10% of those polled, and opposition leader the Honourable Baldwin Spencer 4%. The economy, crime and unemployment were among the major concerns for those who participated in the Cadres poll. Senator Hurst says the administration in which she serves is working to further reduce unemployment, adding that they have made strides since taking office in 2014.
We want to have people working, and the situation is that people will always want more because there is that need for some. And if you give more money, people will always be happy. It's just that position of happiness by earning more. But the point is, we had a double-digit unemployment rate coming into the general elections in 2014. And if one checks with Social Security, there is a clear indication that contribution has increased. So unemployment is not really the issue. What the issue is that they think they should earn more. And the economy is performing excellent. We have the largest economic growth in the Caribbean, and that says a lot.
That's General Secretary of the Antigua-Barbuda Labour Party, Senator Mary Claire Hurst. Point FM reached out to United Progressive Party leader Senator Harold Lovell for reaction to the cadre's poll, but he refused comment. Classes resumed as normal this morning at Princess Margaret School as investigations continue to determine the origin of Saturday's fire that destroyed the principal's office. The fire department was summoned to the school on Saturday morning and may have prevented wide-scale damage of the school. Education Officer Secondary Schools Jonah Green reported that there were no disruptions to classes, describing today as normal for student learning at the secondary institution. Mrs. Green is reporting that alternative arrangements are being made for the principal and the secretarial staff.
Dr. Green is going to do an analysis with reference to available space on the compound as it stands and will inform us as to a temporary location for not just his office but for the administrative office as well, because both him and the administrative staff, the secretarial staff, they were displaced as a result of the fire. So he's going to do that investigation and then relocate temporarily until the Ministry of Education, via Board of Education, or I should say the Cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda would have made a decision as to what the plans would be for the refurbishing or expansion of the administrative block.
Well, as you heard, the Board of Education will spearhead the repair work after an assessment is conducted, even though a cost cannot be immediately placed on the damage.
That is going to be done during the course of today, tomorrow, or during the course of the week. And thereafter, a plan is going to be put in place to correct the issue. So first things first, we have to do an analysis of what's gone or what's missing or what needs to be refurbished or replaced, and then that would be done. Obviously, these things do not happen overnight, so it is taking place as we speak, and the corrective measures will put in place as time goes by.
Mrs. Green says students' records were saved, but information on the school's history and former educators was lost.
Unfortunately, it is some of the administrative records that is what is at jeopardy at this point in time, as it pertains to confidential records in the principal's office. So that is what was misplaced. Unfortunately, the history of the school was also taken down with the fire, because records as it pertained to the history of the school, former principals, when they would have served, that type of thing. There was a large database of information. Also, there were quite a few videos and just chronicling the history of the school. That was lost, and that is rather unfortunate, in addition to other pieces of equipment that is generally stored in there.
That's the Education Officer with responsibility for secondary schools, Jonah Green. Finally, on our national developments this evening, there is a recall of dog food in the United States, and the Veterinary Division in the Ministry of Agriculture is investigating whether the recall will be extended to Antigua and Barbuda. A drug used to euthanize animals has been found in canned dog food, prompting the recall. Low levels of the drug pentobarbital were detected in cans of gravy-train dog food produced by the J.M. Smucker Company, the Food and Drug Administration said in a statement on Friday. Pentobarbital is most commonly used as a sedative, anesthetic, or to euthanize animals, it said. Pets that eat food containing pentobarbital can experience drowsiness, dizziness, excitement, loss of balance, nausea, nystagmus or eyes moving back and forth in a jerky manner, and instability to stand. Consuming high levels of pentobarbital can cause coma and death. The FDA said its preliminary evaluation of the testing results of gravy train samples indicated the low levels found were unlikely to pose a health risk to pets. However, any detection of pentobarbital in pet food is a violation of the Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. The FDA said, simply put, pentobarbital should not be in pet food. The J.M. Smucker Company said it had initiated a voluntary recall of specific shipments of gravy train, kibbles and bits, Old Roy and Skippy canned dog food after pentobarbital was found. The company has identified the root cause to be a single supplier and a single minor ingredient used at one manufacturing facility, it said in a statement. That's a look at the national developments this Monday evening. Stay tuned, more news to come from across the region and internationally.
Want to feel great? Nothing makes you feel better than the smell of a brand new car. Nothing makes you feel better than a brand new Suzuki from Hadid Motors Limited at 6% interest. 8 years to pay, no deposit, with payments as low as $650 from Caribbean Union Bank, Friesel Road. All you need is an invoice, job letter, proof of address, and 2 forms of ID, plus free insurance, free licensing, free registration, and free plates. You're going to love up to 5 years warranty. That means no worries, no breakdown, and no parts problems. Come to Hadid Motors today and test drive your new Suzuki. One is here just waiting for you. Get ready to feel really, really great. Hadid Motors and Caribbean Union Bank, putting you in a brand new Suzuki. Give us a call today at 481-2500. Terms and conditions apply.
So good. I got to you.
With a brand new vehicle from Ace Enterprises, a gift of love is easier to find than you think. Brands like Mazda, SsangYong, Mitsubishi, and Jeep. You can enjoy 100% financing, free licensing, registration, plates, servicing, insurance, and gas. So visit our showroom on Sir Sidney Walling and Sir George Walter Highway, or call 462-1289 for your gift of love.
Thank you so much for staying with us on Point FM's Nightly News for Monday, the 19th day of February 2018. Economic envoy Calvin Ayre to construct a $100 million 5-star resort, and West Indies Oil Company pays tribute to the widow of Bruce Rappaport, who died this month. Turning now to news on the regional scene, the World Health Organization has announced a new high-level commission comprising heads of state and ministers, leaders in health and development, and entrepreneurs in helping to beat non-communicable diseases in the Caribbean and other places. WHO said the group will propose bold and innovative solutions to accelerate prevention and control of the leading killers on the planet, non-communicable diseases like heart and lung disease, cancers, and diabetes. WHO Independent Global High-Level Commission on NCDs is co-chaired by the presidents of Uruguay, Sri Lanka, and Finland, the Minister of Healthcare of the Russian Federation, and a former federal minister of Pakistan. 7 in 10 deaths globally every year are from NCDs, the main contributors to which are tobacco use, harmful use of alcohol, unhealthy diets, and physical inactivity, WHO said. It said more than 15 million people between the ages of 30 and 70 years die from non-communicable diseases annually. Low and lower middle-income countries are increasingly affected, with half of premature deaths from NCDs occurring in those countries, WHO noted. Many lives can be saved from NCDs through early diagnosis and improved access to quality and affordable treatment, as well as a whole-of-government approach to reduce the main risk factors. The new commission was established by WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus and runs until October 2019. WHO said the Commission will provide actionable recommendations to contribute to the third United Nations General Assembly high-level meeting of NCDs scheduled for the second half of 2018. It will include the submission of its first report to Dr. Tedros in early June. In St. Kitts, a police officer has been charged with manslaughter following reports of his involvement in the shooting death of a teenager 3 years ago. The police report that Constable Jeffers of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force was arrested and charged today in connection with the death of Philo Wallace, 17. In April last year, Director of Public Prosecutions of Ralston Graham had advised the police high command that the constable should be charged. The DPP's recommendation was made despite the findings at the coroner's inquest in March 2016, when a 5-member jury had determined that Wallace's shooting death was a justifiable homicide. It's reported that on the morning of Saturday, October 17, 2015, an altercation took place at a bar in Charleston, Nevis, which resulted in Wallace being shot in the chest and the wounding of a police officer. Wallace was rushed to the Alexandra Hospital, where he died shortly after. Jeffords, who had suffered an injury to his head, was identified as the individual who shot Wallace to the chest at close range and was off duty at the time of the incident. The government of the British Virgin Islands is in the process of testing a new online application process for entry permits. Premier Dr. Orlando Smith, in a recent announcement, said while the online platform is being created, employers are now able to send work permit applications directly to immigration. As of Monday, February 19th, any company can have their work permits processed for the employees by having all the documents for the employee sent from the company directly to the immigration department. It would also apply for the owners or managers of companies, Smith said. He said he expected to be up and running within the next few weeks. It will add to the efficiency of the application process at the Immigration Department. Meanwhile, the Premier said organizations or persons responsible for any number of volunteers are now required to submit volunteer applications to the facility based in the capital, Road Town. Persons must write to the Chief Immigration Officer indicating the name of the parent organization when persons are expected to arrive in the territory and how long they plan to stay, the Premier said. He said the request will then be facilitated by the Immigration Department. The changes are being rolled out to improve the immigration process, which has been described as chronically cumbersome. According to immigration officials, persons comprising mostly expatriate workers have been flocking the department in crowds since the hurricanes. The persons are forced to stand in extremely long lines to get their immigration documents processed. The problem is compounded by the influx of persons entering the territory to assist with recovery. Turning now to news internationally, the White House says U.S. President Donald Trump supports efforts to improve background checks on gun ownership. He spoke with Republican Senator John Corwin about a bipartisan bill that seeks to improve the checks in place before someone can buy a gun. Here's more in this report.
Donald Trump has previously said he would never infringe on the right to keep arms, but now he's supporting a bipartisan bill sponsored by 2 senators that would tighten up the background checks carried out on those trying to buy weapons. The bill is modest in scope, largely ensuring the current law is enforced more rigorously. The change is unlikely to have altered Nicholas Cruz's ability to carry out the attack he's admitted to, as he bought the guns legally.
Search and rescue teams are continuing to look for an Iranian plane that crashed in bad weather on Sunday. Local government officials reported that the wreckage had been found, but a Red Crescent official later said there was no evidence of that. A civil aviation official was also unable to confirm the reports. The Assaman Airlines passenger plane came down in the Zagros Mountains on Sunday, and all 66 people on board are feared to have been killed. Hundreds of mountaineers with dogs and drones are trying to reach the site in bad conditions. Due to fog and strong winds, helicopters that were deployed for the search at dawn on Monday have had to be grounded, and on Sunday teams had to stop work altogether due to winds and snow. The ATR 72-500 twin-engine turboprop was traveling from Tehran to the southwestern city of Yasuj. The crashed plane was 25 years old, Iran's civil aviation organization said. 60 passengers, 2 security guards, 2 flight attendants, and the pilot and co-pilot were on board. A warped and sadistic pedophile who blackmailed victims and shared abuse tips and images on the dark web has been jailed for 32 years. Cambridge graduate Matthew Falder, 29, admitted 137 charges, including rape, against 46 people, some of whom were in court in the United Kingdom to see him jailed. Here's more from the BBC.
Matthew Falder ruined lives. For years he contacted hundreds of people around the world online, trying to manipulate them into sending him naked pictures of themselves. The Cambridge graduate contacted babysitters and dog walkers on websites such as Gumtree. He posed as a depressed woman artist who simply wanted naked photos to draw. He then researched their details on the internet and used that information to blackmail them into sending him obscene photos. He forced them to lick toilet seats and eat dog food while naked on camera, and then stored the footage on the dark net so that other paedophiles could easily access it.
That's a look at the regional and international developments at 2 minutes on 7 o'clock. The weather report is next.
Here is a look at your local forecast for Antigua and Barbuda for tonight, Monday night, into tomorrow, Tuesday, the 20th of February 2018. A deep layered high-pressure ridge will maintain a relatively stable atmosphere over Antigua and Barbuda and the rest of the leeward tonight and tomorrow. However, shadow clouds embedded in a moderate to fresh breeze will cause brief interruptions to otherwise normal weather conditions. For tonight, we're looking for partly cloudy skies with a slight chance of a brief overnight shower. And then tomorrow, it will be partly sunny in general with a chance of brief early morning and late afternoon showers. The winds will blow out of the east-northeast at average speeds between 13 to 17 knots or 24 to 31 kilometers per hour, occasionally reaching to an average of 22 knots or 41 kilometers per hour over coastal waters and elevated terrain. The sea state will be rough with heights between 2.1 to 2.8 meters or 7 to 9 feet. A small craft warning remains in effect, while sea bathers should be very cautious, particularly in the near coastal waters east of the island. Rainfall total for the month of February up to 2 p.m. this afternoon at the V.C. Bird International Airport stood at 23.5 millimeters or 93 parts of an inch. The maximum temperature recorded today was 29 Celsius or 84 Fahrenheit. An overnight low of 23 Celsius or 73 Fahrenheit is expected. Look for the sun to rise tomorrow at 6:30 and set tomorrow afternoon at 11 minutes after 6. I'm Leonard Josiah, reporting from the Antigua and Barbuda Meteorological Services.
The weather report. The weather report brings us to the end of Pointe FM's nightly news for Monday, the 19th day of February 2018. Just before we go, we have the headlines that made the news. Economic envoy Calvin Ayre to construct a $100 million five-star resort. West Indies Oil Company pays tribute to the widow of Bruce Rappaport, who died this month. The WHO announces a high-level commission to help beat non-communicable diseases in the Caribbean and other places. And the U.S. President supports efforts to improve background checks on gun ownership. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday edition of our newscast. On behalf of all of us here at Pointe, I am Phil George, wishing you a pleasant rest of the evening. Goodbye.
With a brand new vehicle from Ace Enterprises, a gift of love, it's easier to find than you think. Brands like Mazda, SsangYong, Mitsubishi and Jeep. You can enjoy 100% financing, free licensing, registration, plates, servicing, insurance and gas. So visit